Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we'll continue following the emotional story of LyTuDiep and CEO James. In the previous episode, James risked his life, braving the fierce storm and crossing raging floodwaters just to make it back home, where Diep and little Nee were anxiously waiting for him. After the devastating storm, it seemed like peace had finally returned, but has it really? Or behind those tears of reunion, are new challenges quietly waiting for them? Let's find out together in today's episode to see what happens next in their story. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel to support me in making more emotional and exciting episodes to come. The night had not yet passed. The sky was like a torn black curtain, lightning slashed across it, blazing white for a heartbeat, then vanished, leaving behind a bottomless darkness that swallowed everything whole. The wind howled, carrying the scent of wet earth and the sour stench of floodwater. The familiar dike road had turned into a vast river. No one could tell where the bank ended and the fields began. Rain lashed against his face, stinging like whips. Heavy drops struck the hood of the car like stones, hammering endlessly. Broken branches lay scattered across the road, some swept away by the current, slamming against the side of the truck with a thud that made even the steadiest heart skip a beat. James gripped the steering wheel tightly. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from worry. The veins on the back of his hands stood out, and his eyes were locked on the storm ahead. Each flash of lightning carved his face into sharp lines, weary yet resolute. He had been driving for hours, pushing through flooded roads and dark, winding turns, holding on to a single thought: I must get home. No matter what. The black pickup truck rocked like a boat on an endless sea. Every time a tire hit a pothole, the whole vehicle lurched, the sound of water rushing over the road like someone pouring an entire river down. The windshield blurred with rain, the wipers moved frantically but couldn't keep up with the storm. James grabbed the radio, his voice hoarse from wind and cold. The bridge is half gone. I'm looking for another route. This whole area's underwater, visibility's almost zero. Only static replied, the hiss of rain and broken signals. He exhaled hard, steadying his breath. Outside, thunder rolled endlessly, lightning tore open the heavens, illuminating the drowned countryside in brief, haunting flashes. Every flooded stretch sent water surging under the chassis, spraying high on both sides. The headlights flickered across the muddy waves, tracing trembling streaks of light like human breath in a storm. Inside James's chest, only one fear remained, that when he reached home, the house might be gone, or worse, the ones he loved might not be safe. He whispered, a prayer swallowed by the rain. Lord, please, keep my mother and Diep safe. Don't let anything happen to them. Time seemed to slow, as if mocking him. The clock read nearly 3 a.m., though night and day had long since blurred together. The sky remained pitch black, and the rain showed no sign of stopping. Then, through the curtain of rain, James caught sight of a small familiar slope. He pressed gently on the accelerator. The tire slipped in the mud but held on. The headlights pierced the downpour and revealed a faint silhouette ahead, the iron gate of his home. His heart pounded. He slowed down, pulling the truck to a stop before the gate. Through the white curtain of rain, a soft golden light glowed from inside the house, hazy but warm. It was like a lighthouse in a sea of floodwaters, quietly calling him home. James sat still for a few seconds, breathing deeply. Rain still battered the glass, the wind still howled around the truck, but inside him, all sound fell away. Only one thought echoed clearly in his mind. I'm home. The sound of an engine roared outside the gate, tearing through the stillness of the rainy night. The noise jolted the entire house awake. Mrs. Huynh dropped the towel in her hand in shock, while Diep lifted her head from the window, her heart pounding wildly. The two women exchanged a glance, no words, only shared fear and hope. Then almost at the same time, they rushed out to the porch. The wind slapped against their faces, cold and sharp. Rain lashed sideways, soaking through their clothes, clinging tightly to their skin. Under the dim yellow glow spilling from the house, the road before the gate shimmered faintly, and there, through the sheets of rain, a dark figure staggered forward through the water. It was James. He took heavy, dragging steps. His once white shirt was now stained with mud, his hair drenched, his face pale and hollow from exhaustion. But his eyes still shone, and on his lips appeared the faintest trace of a smile, the fragile smile of a man who had just survived the storm. Mrs. Hwyn fell to her knees, her tears blending with the rain as her voice trembled. You're home, James? My God. I thought you. Before she could finish, James stepped forward quickly and embraced her. That hug, tight and trembling, was not just affection, it was confirmation. He was really here. Alive. Not a dream. I'm okay, Mom. I'm home now. Everything's all right. His voice was hoarse, breath heavy, yet strangely warm and full of life. Behind her, Diep stood frozen, her trembling hand pressed against her chest. She couldn't believe her eyes. All night, she had prayed, cried, and feared that the storm had taken him away forever. And now, seeing James, soaked, weary, but smiling, her heart shattered open with relief and joy. James turned toward her. Their eyes met through the rain. No words were spoken, none were needed. Only silence, and the rhythm of their breathing blending with the sound of rain on the roof. Diep stepped forward, her voice soft, afraid that speaking too loudly would break the fragile miracle before her. You're home, thank God. James nodded slightly, his lips parting as if to speak, but all the emotion he wanted to say was already in his eyes, the eyes of a man who had walked through death just to see the ones he loved still standing. Then, a small voice pierced the quiet. Little Me ran out from the house, bare feet splashing in puddles, her hair a messy tangle, eyes round and glistening with tears. Uncle James, you're all wet. I thought the storm took you away. Her innocent words made James's throat tighten. He knelt down and scooped her up, holding her close against his chest. Her tiny body was warm, a small flame in the cold night. He smiled gently, voice low and tender. I promised, didn't I? No matter how strong the storm gets, I'll always come back. Back to you and your mom. Nee buried her face in his shoulder, giggling through her tears. Beside them, Diep wiped her face, unsure if what ran down her cheeks was rain or tears. Mrs. Hwyn turned away slightly, looking up at the ink-black sky. Through the sound of the rain, she whispered softly to herself. Thank heaven, my son is alive. Every storm must pass, eventually. The light from the house spilled out, illuminating 3 silhouettes in the rain. A trembling mother overwhelmed with relief. A steadfast man who had survived the tempest. And a young woman clutching her child, eyes full of love. Outside, the storm still raged on. But within that home, warmth, peace, and life had quietly returned. ChatGPT to NOI. The last drops of rain fell softly onto the tiled roof, gentle and rhythmic, like the earth itself whispering a lullaby after a night of raging storms. Inside the house, the warm golden light still glowed, reflecting off the windowpane misted with traces of rain. James had finished washing up, the cuts on his arm were neatly bandaged. He sat quietly on the porch, staring at the yard still dotted with puddles, where dry leaves and broken branches lay tangled together. The storm had passed, but inside him still echoed the roar of wind, the rush of water, and the fear he had only now allowed himself to feel. From the room, Diep gently opened the door and looked out. She saw him sitting there in silence, as if afraid that if he closed his eyes, this fragile piece would vanish. She walked closer, placed a hand on his shoulder, and whispered softly, "Come inside, love, it's over now." James turned to her, his eyes softening as he took her hand. He nodded, stood up, and together they stepped back into the house, closing the door behind them, leaving the cool night breeze to drift past the trees outside. Little Me had long fallen asleep. She was curled up beneath the blanket, her hair spread across the pillow, breathing steady, like the tiny heartbeat of peace itself. Diep lay down beside her, gently wrapping her arms around the child, pulling the blanket close to keep her warm. She closed her eyes and whispered, as if sending a prayer upward to the heavens, "Thank you for bringing him back." In the darkness, the rain faded to silence. Only the soft wind remained, and the steady, tender rhythm of 3 heartbeats resting together in peace. The sun rose weakly after days of relentless rain, its light pale, yet strangely warm. The first rays pierced through a thin veil of mist, shining down on the still damp roof, where droplets sparkled like thousands of tiny mirrors. The world was quiet. Only the sound of birds chirping in the trees broke the silence, a melody announcing that peace had truly returned after a long, stormy night. James stepped out onto the porch. The scent of wet earth and lingering rain filled the air, carrying with it a cool freshness and the faint sweetness of early sunlight. He drew in a deep breath and closed his eyes for a moment, as if to etch this feeling into his heart, the feeling of being alive, of seeing the sunrise after believing it might never come again. In the distance, the field still shimmered with puddles. Bamboo groves lay broken, rooftops torn away, walls crumbled, and muddy paths wound through the village. From afar came the faint sound of people at work, mixed with the laughter and shouts of children playing. James stood silently, taking it all in, a heavy ache pressing on his chest. From inside the house, Diep stepped out, holding a cup of steaming tea. The warmth of the tea mingled with the mist, softening the lingering chill. She handed it to him and said quietly, "Everything's so ruined, isn't it?" James nodded, his gaze fixed on the distant horizon. The exhaustion was written all over his face, yet behind his eyes burned a steady determination. "The storm's over," he said in a low, firm voice. "Now it's up to us." Diep was silent for a moment, then smiled faintly. She understood, behind those simple words lay a heart full of duty and plans yet to come. James placed the cup down on the steps, then gently took her hand and squeezed it. "Let's go see how everyone's doing. We'll help them rebuild. Those who lost their homes, we'll help them put them back up. Those who lost their crops, we'll gather rice, clothes, whatever we can. We can't let them face this alone." Diep nodded. In the soft morning light, her eyes shone with compassion and resolve. "Yes. Let's do it. The storm may be gone, but true peace only comes when we help others rise again." The dirt road leading to the riverside was still muddy after days of rain. The water hadn't yet receded, it pooled in uneven puddles, reflecting the dull gray of the sky. Fallen trees blocked parts of the path, power lines drooped across leaky rooftops, and small wooden boats floated aimlessly among patches of mud. The faint sound of dripping water mingled with the whisper of the wind, filling the air with a strange stillness, one that was both sorrowful and serene. James's black pickup truck came to a halt in the middle of the soaked road. The tires spun, spraying mud everywhere. He turned off the engine and stepped out, mud rising nearly to his knees. Gazing ahead at the deep, water-filled potholes, he sighed softly. "The road's too damaged, we'll have to take the motorbike from here." Diep nodded without hesitation. Rain, mud, slippery roads, none of that mattered anymore. What weighed on her heart were the people out there, the ones with no roofs left above their heads. They opened the back of the truck and unloaded a small motorbike. James checked the brakes, while Diep tied up the bags of relief goods, rice, instant noodles, cooking oil, medicine, raincoats, and some sweet snacks for the children. The engine rumbled to life, echoing through the muddy plain. The wheels turned slowly, sinking deep, splashing water high up their pant legs. Diep held tightly to James's back, one arm shielding the bags behind her. The cold wind brushed her face, carrying with it the earthy scent of mud and river water, raw, real, and achingly human. They passed through narrow lanes lined with leaning houses and yards covered in muck. Villagers were already cleaning up, some bending over to pull away twisted sheets of tin, others sitting silently by piles of broken bricks, their eyes distant and hollow. The sight clenched Diep's heart. James stopped the bike and bent down to help a middle-aged man pick up bricks, while Diep opened a bag and handed over some noodles and a bottle of water. An elderly woman with silver hair, frail and trembling, stood by the porch of her mud-soaked house. Her hands shook as she accepted a bag of rice from Diep. Her voice was rough and weak. "Thank you, my dear, the storm took everything. Only walls and earth remain." James bowed his head slightly, speaking in a low but steady tone. "Don't worry, Grandma. The repair team will be here in a few days. Just rest for now, you're not alone." Tears rolled down her wrinkled face, and she smiled through them, a fragile smile that made James instinctively tighten his grip on Diep's hand, as if silently vowing he would do more. A little farther down, they reached Uncle Tua's house, the fisherman who had mended nets for over 20 years. His roof had been torn clean off, and fishing nets hung tangled on the top of a bent palm tree. He was struggling to lift a wooden beam when he saw them arrive. Diep hurried to hand him a bag containing medicine and raincoats. His eyes reddened with emotion. "Thank you, both of you. In weather like this, coming all the way here, that means a lot." Diep smiled softly, her voice warm and calm. "We just want to help ease things a little. The storm's gone, we have to rise again, together." And so they continued, moving through the small hamlets one by one. The hum of the motorbike blended with the sounds of running water, crowing roosters, and neighbors calling out to each other. James stopped often, to move a fallen branch, clear a muddy path, or lend a hand. Diep joined in, sweeping porches, gathering debris. Rain and sweat soaked their clothes, but their faces glowed with the same quiet light, the light of human kindness after the storm. By the time the sun began to tilt westward, they reached the house of old Mrs. Kung, tucked at the very end of a narrow riverside lane. Water still filled half the yard. The wooden walls leaned precariously, some boards torn away. Mrs. Kung sat huddled under the porch, clothes soaked, clutching an old blanket. When she saw them, she burst into tears. "James, Diep, half my house is gone." James quickly parked the bike and stepped forward to steady her, his voice gentle yet firm. "Don't worry, ma'am. We brought some supplies. Please use these for now. Once the road clears, a team will come to help rebuild." Diep unpacked rice, cooking oil, medicine, and a new raincoat. She draped the coat over the old woman's shoulders, her tone soft and kind. "Here, wear this for warmth. It's still chilly out." Mrs. Kung clasped their hands, eyes blurred with tears. "Thank you, good hearts like yours, the heavens will surely bless." James bowed slightly, Diep smiled. Neither said another word, but all three understood, sometimes, a single hand extended in hardship is enough to warm a lifetime. As they rode back, dusk had begun to fall. The sun dipped behind the bamboo groves, its fading light glimmering on the slowly receding floodwater. The motorbike hummed steadily, weaving through puddles and makeshift homes rising again from ruin. Diep rested her head lightly on James's shoulder, her breath warm against his shirt. Her voice was soft, meant only for him. Seeing everyone doing better. I feel lighter. James smiled, eyes fixed on the road ahead, where puddles mirrored the day's last rays. Me too. The storm's gone. It's time to start again. The evening breeze carried with it the scent of wet soil and fresh grass, the scent of life. And in the pale glow of sunset, the two of them kept riding on, leaving behind the sounds of laughter, voices, and the faint glimmers of hope rising over a countryside reborn. Night fell softly. After a long, exhausting day, their small house glowed once more with a warm golden light, not bright, but enough to chase away the chill of the post-storm evening. James, Diep, and little Nie sat together around a simple dinner. Just a bowl of vegetable soup, a plate of braised fish, and a few bowls of white rice. Yet to them, it was the most delicious meal they'd had in days. Outside the porch, the rain had completely stopped. The sky had cleared, and a gentle breeze brushed past, swaying the curtain slightly. Crickets chirped, leaves rustled, and the faint scent of damp earth filled the air, a peaceful symphony that the little house hadn't heard for so long. As they ate, Nie chattered cheerfully, her eyes sparkling. Today, Auntie Diep and Uncle James gave gifts to so many people. One man smiled, and an old lady even hugged Auntie Diep. The whole family laughed. James looked at the little girl, his eyes tender. He reached out and gently patted her head, speaking in a soft, kind voice. "That's because you've been a good girl. Good hearts attract good people, that's the blessing we all share." Diep sat quietly beside them, watching the two with a faint but heartfelt smile. Her mind drifted back to the faces they'd met that day, the grateful eyes, the trembling hands, the whispered thank yous. All of it rekindled her faith that no matter how fierce the storms of life may be, human warmth can always find its way back through the simplest acts of kindness. The three of them clinked their bowls together, a gentle sound that echoed through the cozy home. No words were spoken, but each of them understood. After the storm, what remains most precious isn't material things, it's love, family, and the feeling of coming home safely to one another. The storm had passed, but their hearts still trembled slightly. Amid the wounds nature left behind, there now glowed the light of compassion, born from helping hands and unyielding hearts. For James, Diep, and little Nie, today's journey wasn't just about relief and rebuilding, it was the beginning of a new life. A life where they would learn to restore peace bit by bit, with love and quiet strength. Stay tuned for the next episode, to see how James and Diep's story continues. For beyond the days of new sunshine, another challenge is already quietly drawing near.
Xin chào tất cả mọi người đã quay trở lại với kênh của mình. Hôm nay thì hiện tại mình đang hoàn thành video về câu chuyện của CEO Diep và Lý Tử Diệp. Thì như mọi người cũng đã biết là hiện tại thì bão đang kéo về và rất an toàn cho Diep. Là hôm vừa rồi anh đã vượt qua được cơn bão và trở về nhà an toàn. Thì sau cơn bão, Diep và Diệp đã đi làm từ thiện cũng như là giúp những người dân xung quanh, những người gặp khó khăn bị tàn phá do cơn bão vừa rồi, khắc phục hậu quả của mình. Và như mọi người cũng đã thấy ấy, là đây, Diep và Diệp mình đang edit dở video là đang đi thăm lại những cái công trình bị phá hủy ấy, và cũng đưa đến cho người dân những cái món quà mà nói chung là trong cái lúc mà khó khăn như thế này thì cũng rất là may mắn khi có những người tốt như vậy. Thì mọi người hãy xem video những tập tiếp theo để ủng hộ cho Diep và Diệp nhé mọi người. Tạm biệt mọi người, hẹn gặp lại trong video tiếp theo, bye bye.